continue with the amazing Debi Berndt, who is going to talk to us about men mind control, how to get into his head so he can get me out of his mind. Now, Debi Berndt is also a best-selling book author, and she's going to tell you all about her good stuff right now. Thank you very
much. So you guys ready to learn how you can control a man's mind?
Yes.
And how he feels about you, so the guy you want to relate you back? Would that be great? Okay, well, my name is Debi Berndt. I'm the author of Let Love In, and my book is really about my life. It's actually your life, because I'm sure we had a lot of the same experiences. I was single till I was 41, and I dated all the Mr. Wrongs. I probably dated every type of Mr. Wrong my whole life. About 10 years ago, I was dating this guy I met at my high school reunion. Of course, I was a big dork in high school, so I walked in my high school reunion and I was like, la la la. And I met, of course, the guy that was voted best looking. Of course, he was gorgeous. He was a lawyer. He said all the right things, and I thought, oh, I finally found the one. Well, we fast forward a couple months. We had this long distance relationship, and I went to Aspen to meet him with my girlfriends. He had a guy's weekend, and he invited me up. So I'm spending the weekend with him, and he kind of disappeared one day of the weekend, and he was supposed to meet me at this bar. And so I'm sitting at the bar with my cell phone, waiting for him to call. And my friends are like, forget about him. He blew you off all day. Like, what are you sitting here waiting? And I said, no, no, no. He's with his friends. I kept justifying his behavior. I'm sure how many of you have done that? And made excuses because he was so cute. He always talked so nice on the phone. And I just couldn't believe he would be a jerk, right? Well, just as I was doing that in my mind, I looked down the bar, and there he was. He didn't know what bar I was at. He was with another girl. And I looked at him, and at first I was like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? It's like, meet these guys, and they're just not committed, they're jerks. And then I heard this voice in my head, and it's the first time I ever heard it. And the voice said, you deserve more. And right after that, I lost my job, which is fun, and I started a new career. And I went to hypnotherapy school, and I learned about the subconscious mind. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today. And when I sat in school and I was learning this, I was like, why didn't I learn this before? Like, why did it take so long for me to really get it? I had the power within me all the time to attract the right guy. I was just not consciously doing it. So today, I'm going to show you the secret. And hopefully you'll leave here today with all the information you're getting. This is kind of a little deeper layer literally deeper, to what's really going on. So there are two types of relationships. I know a lot of you think there's like, the 5 love languages and all those things. But the first type of relationship is, and I'm not a good artist, so I'm warning you. This is the girl, this is the boy, and she likes him, and he likes her. That's true. Okay, that's one type of relationship. Then there's this other type of relationship, which is, so we're going to put the girl in the middle since we have all girls, but this can apply to men too. So she's a pretty girl, and she has her little stilettos on. And she sees a guy she likes, and then he's all of a sudden becomes this big man. He has, and what happens is she puts him on this little pedestal. She has something, he has something she wants. She wants a relationship, and she likes him. He's cute. So she likes him. But he doesn't really like her back. He likes her and her. Or he doesn't know what he wants. He goes back and forth. But she's still crazy about him, right? And then there's this other guy that you probably have experienced. And he's this little man. And he's like, please love me. And he's kind of a little lower, right? And when you meet a guy that really likes you, you kind of feel like, I don't know, and you kind of feel more powerful than him, don't you? And what happens is, that you know already how to be confident. Because if you've had this man before, you know how to get it on. You know how to do it. It's just that when you change your mind and you like this guy, all of a sudden it feels like he's bigger and you lose that confidence. And one thing that always happened to me, I don't know, ladies, if this has ever happened to you, when this guy, I like you, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll date you, and then you start liking him, and it turns into him. Does that happen?
Yeah.
And so this is a dysfunctional relationship. Non-harmonious, and this is true love. So you have to look part of that. This is what you guys all want, right? Or do you want to do this? Well, I couldn't figure out why, and so this woman is probably thinking, you know, the guys in New York, they're just, you know, they just don't want commitment. I hear, there's the guys I meet in bars are just jerks. The guys on Match.com are jerks. So this woman is going all over the place looking, and she keeps getting the same scenario, which means I met guys everywhere. I went on the elevators, I met them on ski vacations. Skiing actually is really good. Girls, if you ever want to meet a lot of men, good place. But you'll still get this if you don't fix something that I didn't know was going on. And what is happening with this woman, what was happening with me and the clients I work with all the time, is that there's this little thing that's going on underneath the surface, and I call it your belief system. And another word, to make it short, BS. Most of this stuff that we have in our minds is a bunch of crap. So this belief system is dictating how she feels about him, how she feels about him. And so, for example, say in her belief system, she doesn't feel like she's good enough, right? So, not good enough. Now, she won't feel good enough, so of course she puts one pedestal. And he won't like her, because he can read her mind. And she will be magnetically attracted to a man who will not give her that. The man that's unavailable. There'll be 100 guys in the room. The one guy that's the jerk is the one you'll go to if you have that belief. Now, there's a lot of beliefs. I'm going to go into that a little bit. And she won't go for this guy because she doesn't feel good enough. Even though she's putting him down, she's really just not feeling good enough, so she can't really accept that love. She doesn't feel good enough. Now, before you guys look all puzzled, this is unconscious. We don't know, like we feel like we're confident and we've learned a lot about ourselves, but if there's something, and there's a lot of beliefs that can be blocking it, but there's something that's drawing you to him instead of to this. So, does anyone know how their BS got formed? I'm sure those of you who've done therapy maybe figure that out, but this is how awesome you are. I want you to remember that if there's not work to be done, it's more work to undo. We were born, I don't know how to draw a light, but let's just pretend that's a light. It's like this little amoeba light, you know, that's how we came in to the womb. You know, we were just this perfect, beautiful, divine being. And then in the womb, before you were even born, you had this little like knapsack here. And you started hearing your mom think. You started hearing what people said around you, how your mom felt about the relationships. And you started getting a lot of BS about love. Now, I've seen people who were in unplanned pregnancy have I'm not wanted. So they keep creating I'm not wanted, no man wants that. And so then, of course they wouldn't want him because he wants her, not a match. So this happens, and then from 0 to 8 years old, all this stuff gets dumped into your mind. Everything around you, your environment, how you're treated and nurtured. And this isn't all bad stuff. You get good stuff too. But this, you get information about everything. How worthy you are, how much love you are worth, how much money you can bring into your life, your health and your idea of attractiveness, all that stuff. Most of the ideas that you think every day aren't even yours. They're someone else's in your life. And you may even notice as you're thinking, oh yeah, my mom always says that too, or my mom and their relationship was like that. If you had a divorce early on in your life, your parents got divorced, whatever you thought about relationships, all that stuff is packed in you. Now, at 8, this little seal forms and locks everything in. And so for the rest of your life, you're kind of like, you make little changes. Have you ever done like self-help work and stuff and you feel like I made a little change, but it still didn't get there? That's because it had only changed on the surface, on the conscious level. And I did personal growth since I was 20. And I was thinking, why, I've done all this work, why isn't this working? And what I learned when I went to hypnotherapy school is that it just wasn't changing here. So I kept feeling better and temporarily putting on the act and, doing all the flirty stuff and pretending, but deep inside I really didn't feel good enough yet. And so I would meet this guy all the time, and then as soon as he got to know me, he turned into that guy, and it was a cycle over and over and over again. And so I was like, I needed to break it. And this is how I did it. Now, there are ways to change this, and a lot of people think, it's going to be hard, but it's not. What you're really trying to do is you're trying to understand where these beliefs come from. I mean, not understand where they come from, but understand what's going on, what are you thinking that's creating your dating life, and then you cancel them out. I want you to think of those thoughts that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm too old, I'm, too overweight, or I need to be this way, I need to be that way, I need to be less successful, I need to be more successful. All those things are just lies. And what's the truth about you is this light underneath, that's all you are, that's the truth. Everything else is a lie. Even your name is just a name that was given to you. Who you are is just really divine. So when you, so how do you change it, right? Well, the first step is you have to figure out what you need to change. So it's not, there's nothing impossible about whatever you want you can have. It's just that you believe something that's not true. Now, once you find out what it is, like you can hear it in your voice, you can hear how you talk to yourself. You can even just think, the last time a guy didn't call you, or the last time things didn't work out, just journal, read your journals, and look at all the lies that are in your journal. You really start to really become aware of where you're thinking. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you have seen The Secret and Law of Attraction and all that. It's true, you think what you bring into your life. There's no external. It starts with you and ends with you. So another way to change a belief system is through repetition. And this is really how it started forming, is you heard something over and over as a kid. When I was little, my dad told me, you're stupid. You're stupid. Don't be so stupid. Just joking. And I just, of course, thought I was dumb. And then I had my IQ test, and found out I wasn't. I didn't think I was that smart. And so things that you're told over and over again, in your culture, in your friends, all of the things you hear around you, women in New York, they're complaining about men, and you start to really believe it. So what you need to do is you need to change that repetition of what you're telling yourself. And so I'm sure, how many people use affirmations or have used them before? Is it working okay? Well, I'm going to tell you a secret that's even more powerful. When I was in hypnotherapy school, they talked about the trance state. And the trance state is a relaxed state of mind in meditation. Those of you who meditate or visualize, you're actually going into a trance state. And what it does, it opens up that little ball back to the leaves again, back to when you were young, and you can actually reprogram your stuff. So it's actually one suggestion in hypnosis or trance state equals 1,000 affirmations. So think how much time you're going to save. And so repetition is one of the things we do. You say it over and over again, you hear it over and over again, you visualize every day. Your subconscious, after a while, will start to believe it, just like it did when you were younger. Typically, it only takes 30 to 90 days to change a belief in your subconscious permanently. So it doesn't take that long. This is why when I did this, it was like, this is so fast. And I've worked with people who met their man within 30 days. I had a client recently who just met her man in 8 weeks. In the same position I was. I'm like, wow, I'm getting good. But it really, it starts with that. And another thing that causes the belief system change is your environment. And so it's your peers. So if you're hanging out with a lot of people that are negative about dating, find another group of friends or someone who doesn't support you. If you're doing personal growth work and they're like, ah, that stuff is crap, find other people because they're affecting your belief system. What we do is we communicate unconsciously to each other all the time. So after a while, if you change this, you're going to not be attracted to this guy anymore. This guy is not, and I've had it recently, someone in my mastermind group loved this guy, all of that. And I said, just keep working with it because eventually you're going to look at him and say, I don't like him anymore. And she said, I got to that point now, like I look at him like, why did I like that guy? But you'll get to the point where you feel like you're more on the even level. Your peers and your environment in your home, like, you know, they talk about feng shui, but create an environment in your house that's welcoming for a man, you know, expect him to come. One of the things I did was I bought a second nightstand for my bed when I moved into my new condo. And everyone was like, oh, what'd you get them? I said, well, my boyfriend's going to want to leave in bed with me. We can do that. It's so spiritual. And so I started talking to my friends about my boyfriend, my new boyfriend. And they're like, who's your new boyfriend? I'm like, I haven't met him yet, but he's coming. I actually met him like 8 weeks after I moved into my condo. But it just created the space, so create the environment for the man to come in. Another thing that you can do is authority. Now this is, in some ways, there's a lot of dating coaches here and life coaches. They can act as your authority and they affect your belief system because you look up at them and they tell you something. Like even listening to talks like this is affecting your belief system because they're not just your friends giving you advice, it's an authority figure. So remember, one thing is that this belief system is only 8 years old. So if you ever feel like you're like a little kid dating, or the men you're dating are kind of little boys, it's because most people are dating from that really young childhood stuff that they're still trying to work out. So another thing about authority, which was very powerful for me, was I was really afraid to confront my dad. And he wasn't very, he's German and very stoic and, you know, didn't show a lot of emotion, didn't, when I hugged him, he would go like he wasn't very huggy-duggy. And my mom was the opposite, you know, she was like all over me all the time, too much, I think. But I really just felt like I needed to break free, so I called him up and I said, I just don't want to go through the rest of our lives and you never tell me how much I love you and I want to get closer to you. And I swear, it was like this new person emerged. And he started telling me, I want to get close to you too, but I'm afraid, I wasn't raised that way. And we got so close. He passed away in January, suddenly, but I was so glad. I had a bond with him that none of my sisters had. They're like, what did you do? I'm like, I did this work. And right after I did that, I met Roberto. So if you think about it, someone who has a trauma, like a car accident, and they're all of a sudden afraid to drive, or a plane crash, or someone gets over fear of flying when they jump out of a plane, so that you traumatize your system. The reason there's all these different layers is because naturally your belief system wants to stay the same. So whenever you do any kind of self-help work or any type of self-improvement, it's always going to try to pull you back to what it knows, the familiar. And if this is familiar to you, it's going to think this is not good. So you have to rewire what you're thinking inside, and then that will show up for you. And this could show up in 30 days if you know how to do it. But the trauma, a lot of kids have childhood trauma that impacts them, abuse. It doesn't even have to be that bad. It could be like getting embarrassed. I used to do public speaking a lot for my hypnosis people. I did a lot of fear stuff. A lot of people wouldn't get over this fear of, you know, crazy things. Paper clips I've had. But one of the things that I had these big, handsome CEOs, vice presidents who come in and they're shaved because they have to speak in public. And when we turned out, that when they were younger, they were standing in front of class and they made a mistake and the kids laughed and it affected their belief system. So it's not logical. So our conscious mind is very logical, but the belief system is not logical. So that's why when I'm saying, you know, I don't feel good enough, a lot of women will tell me, and I work with a lot of very beautiful women and beautiful men, and they're all like, I feel confident, I don't know what the problem is. I just, you know, it's their fault. But it really is something going on. And it's not that even confidence, it could also be a fear. And for me, it was a fear of getting close to a man. I felt like it wasn't safe because that's how I was raised with my dad. As soon as I had that change with that conversation, it was like this little girl finally got the hug from her dad, and I really finally felt loved by a man. And that's just everything changed. And it can happen in just a moment. So it's not, it doesn't take years of work to do this. And when I found this out, I was just like, everyone needs to know this. So trauma. And another way, you don't have to like have a trauma, like you don't have to jump out of a plane. But one simple way to traumatize your belief system is do something different. Your subconscious is always going to want the same. So if you go out of your comfort zone, you are going to make a shift in your belief system. So for me, the first time I went up and talked, I was scared to death. First time I went on TV, I was scared to death. I was like meditating, shaking, and then now it's like my belief system is like, it's safe, no one's gonna, you know, throw things at you, or laugh. But trauma is, every time you step outside of that comfort zone, the belief system, that subconscious starts to give you that reaction, that fear, and it's really just, it just wants you to stay the same. So when I met Roberto, it even, like I shook my belief system enough, but I was scared. I was like, oh my God, this could be him. And oh no, like, should I be afraid? Should I be happy? Should I wait? You know, I didn't know how to act. And it was just a trauma in my system to have a completely different relationship. So what the subconscious will do, it'll try to sidetrack you. It'll try to keep you away from making that change to this. And what it'll do is you'll try something for a little bit and you'll give up, and it'll say, see, that didn't work. And you're going to do something else, or you're going to talk yourself into going back to the old boyfriend, and it's always trying to sidetrack you because it doesn't want you to get there. Not because it's mean, it's just it doesn't like change. And it's like a little kid dictating its life. So when you make this shift, what happens is you start to change the pattern of thinking in your mind. You start to, this little belief system stops running your life when you become more conscious of it. And so, let's make it really tiny. So you always have to have a belief system, or you would like fall apart, you wouldn't know who your name was, you know, that type of thing. I guess it holds like your identity and what you know and your memories and all that. But there's this light that starts to emerge within you, and you start to see this is the truth, not this stuff anymore. And it only has to shift 51%. To 51. It just has to go over. So you don't have to be 100% happy-dappy all the time. And I'm so positive, and my true love is coming. No, you just have to get it over where you're thinking more in alignment with love than against it. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, so I don't have to work so hard, but I really have to face it. So we have about 5 minutes left. I wanted to kind of take you through a little meditation if you want to do that. Would that be good? But I want you to know that it doesn't take much. You just have to be willing to be brave and step outside of your comfort zone and let yourself be loved. And there's plenty of men out there. I mean, I talk to them all the time in New York that say, we're all nice girls. So, you know, and every time you hear people, you see couples and you're like, they don't really look together. And there's someone who was talking about that earlier. You know, it's like this really gorgeous guy and the girl's kind of average, and the really average, a beautiful girl with the average guy, and you're like, what's going on? It's like because their belief systems match. You're always going to fit together like a puzzle piece to how you believe. And so you're in charge of your half of the puzzle. So it's like kind of like changing and using, it's like a little cell. It gets a new attraction. So that's how it works. And it's a little deeper than what everyone else is talking about tonight, so I hope that's okay. But I thought this information could really help you save a lot of time.